Most providers who work with GLP-1 clients can tell you the medication is working. Far fewer can tell you exactly why and explain it in a way that actually makes sense to a client sitting across from them. That's what this module is for. By the end of it, you'll have one clear, accurate mental model for how GLP-1 agonists work, and the language to explain it to anyone without oversimplifying or overcomplicating it. GLP-1 medications work by binding to specific receptors throughout the body. Think of a receptor as a lock, and the GLP-1 signal as the key. When the key fits the lock, it opens a response. That response isn't one thing happening in one place. It's a coordinated set of changes across multiple systems: pancreas, digestive tract, and brain, all triggered by the same signal. In the pancreas, GLP-1 stimulates insulin release, but only when blood sugar is already elevated. That conditional response matters. It means the system isn't forcing a reaction when one isn't needed. At the same time, GLP-1 suppresses glucagon, the hormone that raises blood sugar. Together, those two effects help stabilize glucose levels after eating without creating a blunt metabolic override. In the digestive tract, GLP-1 slows gastric emptying, meaning food moves out of the stomach more slowly. That delay extends how long a client feels full after a meal. It also slows how quickly nutrients enter the bloodstream, which smooths out the glucose curve and reduces the sharp spikes that can drive energy crashes and cravings later in the day. This is where the client's experience starts to shift. Meals feel different. Portions naturally decrease, not because willpower increased, but because the fullness signal is now stronger and lasting longer. Hunger doesn't disappear, but it becomes quieter, less urgent. The body is receiving a clearer message that it's fed, and it's responding accordingly. That is the mechanism behind what clients describe as food noise going down. There's also a significant effect in the brain. GLP-1 receptors are present in areas that regulate appetite and satiety signaling. As the GLP-1 signal strengthens, the brain interprets fullness more clearly and earlier. Appetite becomes less noisy. The pull toward food between meals weakens. Clients aren't being controlled. The satiety signal they were already supposed to have is finally working the way it's designed to. When you put these effects together, pancreas, digestion, and brain, you get a coordinated metabolic shift. Blood sugar stabilizes, fullness lasts longer, appetite quiets, and behavior begins to follow. Not because the medication is doing the work for the client, but because the internal environment has changed in a way that makes doing the work significantly easier. This is worth saying clearly because it's one of the most important distinctions you'll make in client conversations. GLP-1 medications don't force weight loss. They don't directly increase metabolism or build muscle. What they do is change the signals that influence behavior, and when those signals change, the choices that lead to better outcomes become less of a battle. GLP-1 doesn't create discipline, it reduces resistance. Before we move on, one more mechanism worth understanding, because it applies directly to tirzepatide, which we'll cover in depth in Track 2. Tirzepatide activates two receptors, the GLP-1 receptor and the GIP receptor. GIP is another incretin hormone, and where GLP-1 primarily governs appetite and satiety, GIP influences how the body uses nutrients once they're already present. That dual activation is why tirzepatide tends to produce more pronounced metabolic effects. Same foundational principle, additive pathways. And this is where nutritional support becomes critical. When appetite drops and food intake decreases, the body doesn't automatically get everything it still needs. Protein intake falls, micronutrients drop, and over time, without a deliberate support structure, that leads to fatigue, muscle loss, and reduced adherence. The signal is working. The system around it isn't. That's the gap, and it's exactly what Empowered Edge is designed to address. So here's the mental model to carry forward. GLP-1 medications change the internal environment. They extend a signal the body already uses across multiple systems in a coordinated way. They reduce resistance, they don't replace effort, and they work best when the nutritional foundation underneath them is solid. That's the full picture. And once you see it this way, it becomes much easier to explain and much easier to apply. In the next module, we address something foundational to everything else in this course, and the one area where most providers get into trouble without realizing it. What you can say, what you can't, and how to stay fully compliant while still showing up as a confident, credible expert in every conversation. That boundary is not a limitation. Understanding it is what makes everything else work.